Welcome back to Survival Circle. Today I'm going to do my intro video. Um, Today we're going to talk about why. Yeah, it's three little letters, but it's a big word. This video is going to tell you why I'm doing this, why you might want to listen to me, why you should prepare, etc. There's so many things out there that I can't answer them all. I can't answer all the whys that you might ever come up with in one video, but I'll try to set the tone for our time together here on Survival Circle. I hope this will serve as a good introduction to the channel. Few reasons why I'm giving back and why I'm on YouTube is that I do feel like I'm giving back. This community's been good to me, and I want to contribute something back to the community. I want to give a slightly new perspective on what's been out there. I have a little different background, it seems, than most people that post on YouTube, at least in the prepper channels. So I want to give the benefit of my perspective. Um, I have a different goal, it seems, than some of the others that have been posting. My goal is to educate and share knowledge. I'm not here to promote my products or even pass off my opinion of products to you. Many people seem to focus on preparing for the sake of preparing, and I focus more on preparing as a route to an end goal, not as a goal itself. So some of the differences that I think that I have over others is surviving alone with no intention of rejoining society or of a community, I believe is pointless. So I think that my perspective is trying to get back to a community or society, even if it's outside of the group that you decide to go with during a survival situation. Um, Again, surviving should be a goal of reestablishing normal, not just surviving for the sake of surviving. And survival is the result of planning and preparation. It's not. It is a process. It's not the goal in and of itself. So those are a couple of ways that I think that my ideas are slightly different than the ideas of some people that are on YouTube. And there's other things. So don't be afraid that that's it. Before I go on, maybe I should describe a little bit more about myself. Like many in the prepper community, I started off as a Cub Scout, and I progressed up through the Weebelows. I didn't make it up into the Boy Scouts. There's a great many skills that are taught through scouting, and if you have kids and they're not in scouting, as long as you can afford it, I would recommend getting them into scouting. Actually, I think of not getting them into scouting is probably a disservice to them. And not only do you learn quote unquote survival skills, but you learn camaraderie and that success is achieved through effort, and hopefully you get some sense of personal responsibility. So I definitely recommend scouting if you can get your kids there. Now, after high school, I went into the Marine Corps. This is intended as a short video, and I can't go into all the things that I learned as a Marine, but rest assured this experience added to my personal knowledge base. Later on, I started working for the Red Cross, and I was there for Hurricane Katrina and Rita. I wrote the continuity of operations plans for a major chapter here in the United States. I contributed to the National American Red Cross disaster recovery and continuity of operations plans. I contributed to organizational planning for a pandemic planning. There wasn't actually a pandemic, but for the planning phase of a pandemic in my region, and that covered response activities impacting approximately 25% of the country's population. Unlike many in the disaster planning business, I was actually at the Red Cross. I was able to see firsthand whether my plans and preparations worked, and that really gives you a good perspective. As a professional consultant, I've worked with a variety of companies in disaster planning, response, and continuity of projects. And this diverse group of organizations ranges from companies ranging from Dell to JCPenney, the Chicago Stock Exchange, Firestone, NASDAQ, the federal government's General Services Administration, and PetSmart. So, I have some experience behind me. And I hope to convey some of that experience onto you guys as well. So many people in the prepping community seem to have gotten an education from the School of Hard Knocks. I definitely respect that. I was in my 30s before I went back to college, so I saw my fair share of life experience. But I always approach things from a business perspective. By education and experience, I know how to break down tasks into manageable bits and then apply appropriate resources. I'm also about halfway through my pursuit of my MBA, and this point carries a special key to my mindset. I would not be continuing to go back to school, get that debt, spend that time, and limit my availability for other tasks if I was conceived everything was going to go to hell tomorrow. I believe in prepping for foreseeable threats, and I do see that there's a potential for some actual serious threats in our society. There's a possibility that stuff will hit the fan tomorrow, but if it doesn't, I want to be able to provide the highest quality of life for my family, and that means making sure that we're taking care of the potential of tomorrow, whether that potential is a survival scenario or just another day in the life. So okay, so with that brief interlude, you can see that I have a different skill set than many of the preppers on YouTube. However, it takes all kinds. They may be able to reach people that I can't. I might be able to reach some that they can't. But rather than focusing on skills, maybe I should say that I have a different paradigm, a different mindset. I have some primitive survival skills. I've learned some between the Scouts and the Marines, and some on my own, and that kind of thing. But they're perishable skills. If you don't practice them, they go away. So I'm redeveloping those skills, and I'm learning some more. I have analytical skills, and they serve regardless of whether I'm surviving in a rainforest or in the concrete canyons of some city. I come from a disaster preparedness background where an orderly process is followed to develop an appropriate response to foreseeable threats. I practice disaster response, whereby a structured process is used to identify the plan elements which work, and then continue to use those elements and discard the elements or change the elements that are not working. This is a lot different than some of the people that I've seen who have actually planned out their survival menu. They have 24 months, and they're going to have this package of food this day and that package of food that day, and they have all the nutrients labeled out. I mean, I've actually seen this on some of the websites and some of the channels, and that mindset is so foreign to me that I don't even know where to start debunking it. It's just, it's amazing to me that somebody thinks that they can actually plan down to the exact meal they're going to have every day in a survival scenario. But we're going to put that to the side for now. I also strive for continuity of operations. Now, this is a business term that means that the daily business goes on. It's often in an altered or an abbreviated form, but the cash register still rings, products still get made, and shipments make their way to customers. So how does this apply to a survival situation? Well, kids still need to be educated, food still needs to be prepared, life should be conducted as, quote, normally as possible. Vehicles still need to be maintained. There are things that happen in your daily life which need to continue to happen even in a survival scenario. So that's the continuity of operations I'm talking about in a survival scenario. So the end result between my mindset, my way of doing things, and their mindset, their way of doing things might be similar. The process and the method for getting to the goal may be dissimilar with other channels. It's in the mindset more than in the actual skills, and I hope you'll see the difference as things go by, as time goes by, and I get more videos up on my channel. Now, I'll also spend some time talking about business practices, real life business practices. A lot of people say that that the best way to survive some upcoming stuff hits the fan scenario is to move away from the cities, develop a small business, and live, excuse me, as off the grid as you can. that might be a viable solution. But if you're going to do that, then you need to know about business. You need to know how to run your business. And if you actually end up in a survival scenario, then you also need to have some understanding of how business works so that you can make the resources you have last as long as possible and set you in as good a position as possible. So hopefully some of that general advice that I'll be passing along as we go will help you prepare for either modern day, current day success or a better situation should we get into a survival type situation. So those are the things that I plan to do. Some of the things that I've seen on other channels that I'm going to try not to do. I'm not going to evangelize to you. I hope that we all have a spiritual grounding that helps us get through our lives. I do not believe, for me, this is an appropriate forum to attempt to influence your choices. So I'm not going to do it. If your beliefs allow you to get through life with honor and dignity without inspiring you to harm yourself or others, then you and I won't have an issue. We're good. I'll likely block people who can't at least respect one another for religious or most other reasons. I'll also highly encourage everyone to become involved in the political system. Investigate your beliefs, learn who best supports your beliefs, and participate in the political system appropriately. However, I'm not going to be sharing my specific political values. Definitely not going to, as far as I can understand right now, be endorsing any particular politician. Again, I respect everybody's opinion. And I hope that you can respect mine. I hope you can respect one another, even have an open, honest debate about topics. I think that's fantastic. Just as long as we respect one another, we'll be okay. There's also so many other channels out there doing product reviews that I'm not going to waste my energy on it. I'm not an expert on products. I actually concentrate on types of items rather than on specific items. Where it's necessary, I'll share the characteristics of an item, but if you can create it yourself or if you can acquire it in some moral manner, then I don't care really what brand you have or what finish is on it or anything like that, as long as it does the job. There are a few exceptions, so so many channels tell you the exact name and model of each piece of gear that they're carrying that it comes across as a commercial. Frankly, most of the time I just don't care. If you find a fanny pack that carries everything you need for an everyday carry kit, then who am I to say what's right and what's not? Now, there will be a couple items here and there that come up, and I'm sure that I'll tell you what they are because I just like them that much, but I'm not going to go out of my way to tell you this is the specific item that I'm looking for or that you need to go get in particular. Also, I try not to be an acronym fountain. A lot of people just spew acronyms out and it comes across as alphabet soup. So when I use an acronym, I'm going to try to tell you what it means beforehand, and I'll also just try to limit the use of acronyms in general. Now, carrying on with that theme is this topic of inclusive communication. Sometimes it sounds cool to use military terminology in most closed groups, and right now the prepper community is kind of a closed group. We all have a shorthand that we kind of use with one another, and closed groups develop that common dialect, and it helps facilitate communications. However, that can create a barrier between our group and the people we're trying to communicate with, those who need to prepare for the future or for an event, however it goes. And if you start sounding too military, you can turn off quite a few people. I try to be more descriptive than cool. If you ask anyone that knows me, cool is something that I'm virtually completely clueless about. So I guess that just goes with my nature, but I want to make sure that I'm communicating in a format that people understand rather than communicating in a way that makes me feel better about what I'm doing. So to me, OPSEC or operational security will probably be keeping your mouth shut. 100-mile-per-hour tape will probably be duct tape or cloth back tape because that's what it is. A tactical response is the steps that must be taken to achieve a strategic goal, and I'll probably never call it a TAC rep. My area of operation may actually be called area of operation because it's fairly descriptive. However, I don't see myself calling it an AO as I've seen in some of the other videos and even some of the video games that are out right now. So again, I try to use communication as a mechanism that is inclusive rather than exclusive so that more people can feel comfortable with the topics that were being discussed. And if we can increase the comfort level, then hopefully we can increase the people who are willing to participate in preparing for disasters or a long-term scenario. So I guess the unmet niche that I'm trying to fill is not necessarily a specific thing. The unmet niche is a practical, professional focus on taking care of business in the survival arena, whether that's for a disaster response or if it's for that long-term scenario that most people seem to be prepping for. That's a perspective that I hope to bring, and I hope it's a perspective that you'll appreciate as we go forward. Some may ask why I am nameless, why I don't put my name out there like some of the guys do. For the most part, I'm a really private person, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking care of my privacy as much as possible. I prefer living in big cities rather than in small towns because in a city you can be anonymous, and in a small town everyone knows who you are and what you're doing, and I just want to choose who I interact with, so I'll probably remain private. And if you really knew me, you'd probably be surprised that I was actually doing this at all in such a public forum. The other aspect is that the internet is a huge, open, public forum. Now, because of my professional life and not wanting to be judged by people who may or may not agree with my ideas, yet may otherwise want to employ or work with me, I feel it's best just to keep my name to myself. Now, some of you are out there thinking, well, I fear the government and I don't want to be added to some watch list or something like that. Just put that to rest. Get over it. I have a computer account that accesses YouTube, and it accesses the email account that's attached to my YouTube channel. If the government wants to know who I am and what I'm doing, they'll know. Honestly, I'm more afraid of what Google or Facebook would do with my information than what the government would do. That's not to say that there's no fear out there in either aspect. I'm just saying I would be more afraid of what a corporation does because they really have less controls and less transparency in what they do with the information. So it's not a fear of the government. I just choose to keep my name to myself because I'm more of a private individual. So finally, I hope that this wasn't too boring and that it establishes some understanding of what you'll see here as well as how I'll approach the topics. If you think you'll be interested in hearing more from me, please don't just bookmark the page. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and make comments. I'd really like to know what ideas you guys would like to see and see if I can help bring my perspective to topics, whether or not someone else has covered it. Bring my perspective to some topics that are of interest to you. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off, and I'll make a real video, something that actually pertains to the topics. I just felt like getting the intro out of the way was probably a good thing to do fairly early on. So back to the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.